Hey, this is Therese, and this is the monthly business training call. And today we're working on embodied goals. I've got a couple of people hanging out with me, so you'll get to hear my teaching, and we're just going to have some conversations. Maybe people will drop on, but I know a lot of people are just going to be watching this and doing the replay. So, why embodied goals? So we already kind of had a conversation about what do you think about goals. So as you're watching this, like love them or hate them, right? Some people are like, oh my God, goals just drive me. And other people are like, I feel kind of like suffocate, like I feel locked in. There's a rigidity. And so I'm kind of in between, right? And so the reason I do this particular training is because, well, I'll tell you a story. Years and years ago, probably 20 years ago, 18 years ago, when I first started, I was a coach in somebody's program. And there was the main coach, and then there was a peer coach of mine. And the main coach and my peer friend, Sean, were doing this training, this goal training. And I'm listening, going, that sounds so good. And holy shit, I'd shoot myself in the head if I had to do it that way. because they're very like, okay, every Monday, 9 a.m. I get the newsletter done and I did it. And I was like, whoa, what's wrong with me? And what I realized, like, we're all different, right? And that some of you might know what we call the Myers-Briggs type indicator. And so if you're Myers-Briggs, I'm a P, which means perceptive, which means plan your work, work your plan. It looks very different. If you are a right brain or more creative, it looks very different than an analytical, linear thinking person. And so I remember listening to those two people teach this goal thing, and I'm like, either I'm really messed up or I got to talk about it differently. Because those of us who are right brain and flowy, we don't fit into the, Franklin Covey's SMART goal. We don't fit. You can't put yourself into a framework that is not going to honor your energy. So I actually created a training called Right Brain Planning in the Left Brain World. And so I know, is that good? So I want you to know that's where this is coming from, being a different brained. And it makes you feel, when you don't resonate with a traditional goal setting, there's like can be some shame, and there can be like, screw it, I won't. But you gotta have something. So that's why I brought this. And I don't know if you guys can relate to that, but that's why I brought this. So my teaching is always an inside out first. And I think some of the goal teaching, is what do you want? How are you going to get there? What's the plan? What's the time frame? Okay, now set your calendar, create all the actions, which is awesome. You need that. But I like to start on the inside part first, because here's the deal. If you don't get the inside part right, it doesn't matter. You could have everything mapped out perfectly, but if you're out of alignment or if your goal's not embodied, oh wow, it's not going to work. Sound good? Okay. So the first I want to talk about related to goals. Where do I go? I've got some ideas. Okay. I want you to think about a goal. Everybody, you're on the call with me or you're watching, think about a goal, and think about not just like, I'd like to eat a little better, who wouldn't? As I finished off my half pint of ice cream yesterday, who wouldn't like to eat a little better, right? But I want you to think of a goal that's maybe a stretch goal, a bigger goal. Okay. So the question is, so get your goal in however it could be, a 1 year goal, 3 year, 5 year. Again, I'm not going to quantify the size of your goal or the scope, but something that is meaningful to you. So the first question, now here's what you need to know. You need to tick all these boxes. If you don't get this right, so this is kind of the foundational piece. If you don't have this right, then when we're on the outside mapping the goals out and creating the strategies, you're going to be misaligned. There's going to be something off. Okay, so you have your goal. Why does it matter? Why does it matter? So you can write that down. Why does it matter? I'll just take a minute. Okay, wrapping up in about 30 seconds. So here's my hypotheses. This is what forms a lot of this. When I think about goals, something has to fuel, like here's what I want. Here's why I want this. But what's the fuel for the why? And most people can get these two pieces. Oh, I want to bring in 10,000 a month. Cool. Why do you want it? Oh, because I want to blah, 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 whatever. That's not too hard to get. But here's the like 4 questions that you need to answer. So I'm going to take you through kind of like a little template. Okay, so think of your goal. Question number 1, is it from a need? So let's say we just use the goal, I want to bring in 10,000 a month. Yeah, that could be a need. You need money. You need to fill your retirement. You need to, pay for college education. You need to take your kids to Italy, whatever it is. That's not unreasonable. That's like, yeah, I have a need. The challenge is, because we're going to talk more about moving away from and moving towards, when things are from a need, it's not really sustainable. And I'll explain that later. Okay, so just number 1, is that from a need? And usually it's a yes, right? Okay, the second one, is it from a wound? Let me give you an example. I didn't realize, I've been looking at, when I first started this industry, I had so much fire to help. I mean, I was like, I've got to help. I'm mission driven. But what it really was proving energy. See, somebody divorced me back in the day, and I'm like, oh, you bastard. Nobody's going to be able to pull the rug out from under me. I will show you that I can make, like, and I had no idea. It was completely unconscious to me. And I thought I was super driven and wanted to help everybody. So wound number 1 for me is I needed to prove that you loved me, you wanted me, I was doing good. And then wound number 2 was I was way so much codependent. What? A former therapist? Who knew? So for me, there was a lot, the wound was my identity, my role, how I showed up was taking care of people. Now, it sounds really good. It sounds really altruistic, like, oh my gosh, I'm totally mission driven. I just want to help people. That's important. And if there's a tinge of it coming from woundedness, it's not the right fuel. So does that make sense? So Alice or Eve, like, because this one is a really subtle distinction. And how do you discern, like, oh, I want 10,000 because I legit want to travel, or I'm here to help. It's a soul thing versus because if I'm not, then I'm a that. If I'm a not, then they'll know. Or then so does that make sense? So let's talk about this, because this is a really important distinction. So either you want to say something about this? And feel free just to jump in. Eve.
Wow. Surprise, surprise, surprise. I'm in a pickle here. Because now, as I'm writing it down and I realize what I'm writing it down, it is the need or is it a wound? Well, my goal, let me tell you about
Yeah.
my goal and we can figure that out together. Um, I'm in the middle of creating my mom's living legacy. My mom is changed spaces, left this beautiful earth last year, and I'm in the creating of my mom's living legacy in a movie and in a book
Oh
format,
my.
interviewing everyone
Yeah.
who had significant impact
Yeah.
with my mom. And now it is a wound because I miss my mom and I want her to
Yeah.
be alive. I want her to keep living here with us. So
Right.
this is crazy.
Yeah. Well, there's 2 other questions. So let's put that on pause, because the other 2 also might give you more information, right? Because sometimes the wound, it's an insatiable, for me, when I was improving energy and I was in my codependent. My clients were not the right ones to fill that wound, right? Like only I can determine if I'm good enough. I can't go, oh, Eve hired me, so therefore, okay, good. Alice stuck with me for 2 years. Yay! See me. It's like when we look outside ourselves for the validation, that's the wounding piece. Okay, point number 3, is it from a desire? Right? So perhaps the wound is there a little bit, but the desire to perpetuate her legacy, that's the gift of love. That's legacy. Right.
Yes.
So I don't want you to go, because I miss her, something's broken. It's like, or is it from a desire? There's a cleanness, an integrity to, I just got to share this with the world. And when it's that, when you're like, it's not about me. What? When I was needing to be proving everything, it was very much about me. I needed y'all to love me, hire me, validate me. It was clearly my stuff, but this Eve doesn't feel like, see me. So I think they can coexist. Like I miss her, but I'm just doing this just to feel the distinction there.
Yes.
Okay. So is it from
it is much a desire, yes.
Exactly. See, I knew I'd save you here. So when it's a desire, for me, there's the I can't not do it. It's a God thing, it's a soul thing, it's a spirit thing. It's like,
oh my God.
It's like grabbed you and it's like, oh crap, here we go. All right. Like it leads you and that means you're on purpose. That means you're doing your soul work because it is so filled with desire. There's not ego. And sometimes it's crazy. It makes no sense, but there's a willingness.
Thank you.
We had in our Activate program, a woman was talking about, she said, I want to do this. And I said, why? Why is it important to you to get this business? And she started choking up. She got in tears saying, because I love small business owners and I want to help them. That was not from proving energy. That was not from woundedness. That was, she is touched by something bigger than her that is like, whoa, you got to do this. Okay. And then the final question is it from obligation or someone else's stuff? Right? Now, if your mother said to you, Eve, I will come back and haunt you unless you get my legacy out, which I don't think she did. So, because a lot of people are like, well, this is what everybody in my family does. Everybody goes into law, or, my parents really wanted me to do X, or, as a mom, these are kind of my choices. So Alice, does any of this relate to you in any of this? Yeah.
So it's interesting. Is it from need? Yes. Is it from a wound? Yeah, there's some proving energy there. Absolutely. But it's also from identity.
Exactly.
So it's about, I want to be liked, loved, taken care of, and safe. Yeah.
So good. Right.
Is it from a desire? Yeah, it's my soul song. I can't not do it. It is who I am.
Good.
And then is it from anybody else's? No,
good,
they're
then.
all saying, what the fuck are you doing? Get a job, woman, get a job.
Right. So you've won the test. You made it. So let's say so the goal is to have more from desire, right? Like you're pulled by something, the goal. And what if there is tinged with a wound, a need, or somebody else's stuff? It's not like, oh crap, I can't do the goal now. But I want you, that's why I call this embodied goals, right? So when it's clean, it just is like, it's supposed to be there. It just fits. There's an integrity about that. When our woman in Activate was saying why she had to do her business when she broke into tears, she has given up a job to follow this passion. There was no part of her that wasn't embodied. And so that's one little litmus test. When you talk about it, does it choke you up? When you talk about it, do you feel like, oh, this is bigger than me? This is my mission. Now, truthfully, not every goal is like this. If you're like, I just want to go to the gym 3 days a week, you might not have to do it. Like, you know what I mean? Not every goal is, but I just want to show you this a way to assess the goals if they're good goals or goals that you're using for codependent reasons, for proving energy, for people pleasing. Like those are not sustainable. Right? Does that make sense? So, and I love Alice, when you talked about identity. So the goal is to get the goal, sort out what's true, what's not true. And then one of the ways to get the goal is who am I in the process of achieving that? Because if you just go, okay, goals are about action, cool, but you have to have an identity. Like say you could say, I should exercise 5 days a week because my cholesterol is high, and you know what they say, that versus I'm a person who exercises. Right? It's different than this is a thing I have to do. Shit, I have to do that thing versus, oh no, I'm a person who does a thing. Right? So if you are a health conscious person, you're not like, oh, I can't eat that food because they say it's, oh, I'm just a person who chooses healthy. So do you see the shift? When it's from outside of you pulling you forward, we're going to rebel against it. We're not happy, as opposed to, of course I'm going to exercise and be healthy because that's who I am. So you get the goal, you get the why, you sort out is there some messy stuff with it? Who do I have to be in creation of that? I think that's magical. So E, for you to be in creation, the one that's getting the living legacy, give me some identity words, because that's, again, these are examples, right? And if you're following us, I want you filling in, like literally fill these questions in. So Eve, who do you have to be? Eve, you got it? I'm talking to you here.
I'm sorry, my internet connection is
Okay.
a little bit staticky.
Okay.
Please repeat the question for
So
me.
the question is, becoming the person who is creating the living legacy for your mother, because that could be a whole bunch of action steps. That's what I want you to get away from is, I have 30,000 post-it notes and a spreadsheet of tasks. I want you to embody the goal first. And part of that is, who is the person, identity, beliefs, thoughts, that is creating this living legacy for your mother? That's what I'm looking at. So if you can fill those in. So do you have any, can you share with us a little bit?
Well, the person is going to be me who's going to do.
I know, but what qualities, what identity, what thoughts, what beliefs? You're not following that question?
No, I do.
Okay, you're thinking about that.
They are very good points.
And you might not know that yet. And likely you're probably already
I do.
You might already
express. It's hard to express. It's definitely a desire to have that wonderful, how would I express? It's very hard for me to express. My mom was an amazing woman, and the desire for me to keep that knowledge of hers, to be living, to show to the next generation what kind of a super powered woman could do and change others' life, because my mom impacted many lives. And the desire here inside, it's like to show that, to have that in a living form, if that make any sense.
That's perfect. But see, so what you're talking about, number one, is legacy, and you're talking about it's bigger than, there's no ego for you here. This isn't, to prove that you're special and everybody loves you. So that's how you can tell it's an embodied goal, right? When I talk about identity, what you could do is like, I'm a person who is I'm fierce about getting this in the world. I'm unstoppable. I will move mountains, right? I will find the right connection. So I think the challenge for you, you're already living it, so you're not aware of the absence of it. I think you're not, because I know you a little bit. So sometimes we're like, yeah, doesn't everybody? Like, no, not everybody.
Well, it's amazing how things related to this goal is falling to place. Like I had a phone, if I may share, I don't want to take over your call, but how do you know and how you really recognize this is what you're supposed to do when things obviously moving and have the domino effect without any stress, without any extra effort? I just pick up a phone call and I had a conversation and I shared my vision. I shared my dream with somebody, and that somebody gave me the possibility to open up to the media, open up to, you know, all the things what was missing in a physical form. It's there. The recording studio, the cameraman,
There you go.
everybody,
Nice.
everybody is
Nice.
there. And I'm like, oh my God, I said, how this is, it's just, it's amazing.
But see that to me, when you're like, if we just go like law of attraction, you're in that frequency, you're so clean and pure with that. And it's supposed to be, it's just getting delivered. So identity would be like, I just trust, because here's what happens. Our subconscious is going to go, how are you going to do that? You're one person. It's never like our subconscious little gremlins are going to chew your head off, as opposed to, no, I'll be having this. This is going to get out in the world. And I'm going to trust and know that everything is working. Everything is working for me. This is supposed to get out, right? So there's a faith part of it and a surrender. Okay, that's great. Okay, let me go back 2 steps. I want you to write down 3 words that you would say, these are my top values, or you could call it like guiding principles. 3 things that like I'll give you mine. If you know me, you know joy. I'm a big seeker of joy. The second one is expansion. I live expansion. I love expansion. And the third one for me is sovereignty. I so believe in personal freedom and everybody being sovereign. You know, we don't need people to run us. We are our own agents, right? So those are my top 3 values. And I want you to take a moment and just kind of, if you can get 7, that's fine, but at least get 3. The 3 that like, oh yeah, this is everything. Everything I always, it's now what I want you to do, the goal you have is that part of it. Right? Now you can't say, well, if all 3, like maybe I'm going to do something and it's not necessarily for sovereignty, but it sure is joy and expansion. That'd be a yes. But if you're doing something that is not ticking the majority of those boxes, you're living in misalignment. It's not going to be embodied. And there's, you know, like joy and expansion. And I also know I'm a grown woman. I know that not every project in the beginning is full of joy. Sometimes it's like, shit, head down, grind. But ultimately, this brings me more sovereignty. This brings me more expansion, right? So you have to kind of massage it a little bit and say, you know, is the pursuit of this goal, is it infused with my values and my principles, the things that guide me? Because if you don't, then that's are you doing it for somebody else? Are you selling out? Are you in scarcity? Are you just throwing shit against the wall? Like, well, maybe this will sell. I don't know. You know, they told me I need to have funnels and high-end program. Like, it's one of my beautiful clients. She's like, okay, look at my website. So I was helping her with some website copy. And this woman is like a healer, therapist, you know, kind of really yummy, sweet energy. And she's like, I help you get high ticket offers. And I'm like, what? I said, I've known you for years. Like, what? When did you start doing this? Because I don't know this. She goes, oh, well, the coach that I was with told me I should put. And I'm like, hey, go to your body. When you think about coaching somebody to get a high ticket offer. And she's like, oh, I said, again, that sells for some people, that's for some people, but it's not for you. It is, those are not your values, right? And like, so ask yourself, the things you're trying to work towards, the goals you have, do they sit with, and for me, joy, expansion, sovereignty, I light up. If you say structure and organization, I'm like, I get a little scratchy here. I'm like, right? And so do your values, your pursuits, if you infuse them with your top value, do they line up? Alice Reeve, do you want to share anything about that? Because that's critical.
Yeah. So the first couple of words I wrote down were integrity and authenticity.
Yep.
And those are important to me. And they're always there. What I embody with my clients is compassion and love. I mean, that's the envelope, that's the energy, that's the here I am and I'm embracing you. And
Beautiful.
in love, in compassion, in unconditional, it's not broken. We're just going to help you uncover
So
what
good.
needs to be uncovered.
I love this because integrity and authenticity, that's like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of like, that's how I show up. That's the like, but I should hope so, right? But you freaking lit up when you talked about love and compassion. So that's the thing. Anything you now try to do, if you're going to do a workshop or anything, any flyer, anything you write, does it exude compassion and love? Am I saying those words? Are your marketing materials giving people a sense of what it would be like to be with you?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I love this. This is a perfect example of like what we think is our like, yes, maybe that's like it matters to me. That's my standard. Maybe that's a standard, but these things, holy shit, they light me up. Right. So does that make sense for you? Okay. All right. So this is the embodiment aspect. Now I want to talk about a couple things. In neurolinguistic programming, there's a concept of moving towards something versus moving away from something. Now, what do you think most of us are trained to do? Most of us move away from the undesirable thing. I got to get out of this thing. Oh, I hate my job, or oh my God, if I don't start exercising, I'm going to have a heart attack, or I never want to be in debt again. Do you hear the energies? All the focus is here's the pain or problem or the undesired. And I think in our country, in the West, it's like 70%, 80%. Most people are like this. So in terms of marketing, this is the old, pound the pain, push the problem. And the way I do marketing, I like, hey, wow, there's more for you. You don't like, and I work on, and a lot of the newer marketing is moving towards. Because if I used to get coaches, they would be like, I would be working on people's websites and messaging. They're like, I work with people that are at the end of their rope and they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm like, really? You really want that? I was a therapist. It's not fun as a therapist, much less a coach, right? And so you think about your verbiage and think, so I'm doing 2 levels. This is you attracting people, but this is you in your own world. What's the direction your goals are? And so if you are wired, let me try to explain this. There's a fuel to moving away from. There's a gap, like, oh, I'm sick of this debt. I'm sick of this weight. I'm sick of this shitty relationship. That's it, because there's this pressure that builds up. So you're like, okay, fine, I'll break out, I'll do something. And then you're like out of it. Well, there's no pressure to move anymore. And so it's kind of like there's like a sabotage that happens. So this is why people and they're like, it's so boring. It's kind of not fun. Like, because they're used to that tension of like, have to fight against this. The flip is that you? You're free to talk. You can take yourself off.
I'm sorry, I have to run. Thank you so much.
It was great to have you,
It
love.
was amazing.
Thanks
Thank you for
showing
having
up.
me
Okay,
today.
watch the recording to catch the rest of it.
Yes. Bye.
Versus, okay, so let's just take exercise. One motivation is, oh my gosh, if I don't get exercising and my cholesterol down, I'm going to have a heart attack. That's one. That's how most people do it. Versus, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to push myself to run a 10K. That would be so cool to like just really see what I'm capable of. That's a moving towards motivation. And so it's okay to have a little freaking hate this. I'm not going to live another day. And somehow, if it's only that, it's not enough. You have to pull in. So, yes, I'm sick of this debt. I've got to earn more money so that I'm more comfortable and my kids can travel. And just see what I mean? You don't want to just, so that's a really important piece. Where's the directionality of your goal? Are you getting away from or getting towards? And here's a challenge. I've worked with a lot of people that are very, this is a little marketing training here. They don't talk about the pain. They're not at all motivated by pain. Like generally high achievers, they don't need pain-based marketing. They don't need to be beat in the head. They want to like, there's more for you. And imagine getting into the end of your life and actually achieving it. So you have no regrets. Imagine that's a moving towards, right? And so you got to think about where your audience is. Now, like, let's say you're helping mothers of newborns. You could say, imagine a sleep-filled night, or be like, if you are sick and tired of your baby not sleeping, I've got a technique. Like, it's like, so it's just different problems and different times. But I want you, for the bigger goals, there has to be some movement towards. Okay. Now I want you to think about it. Yeah, go ahead, Alice. Go ahead.
So you just hit on something really key.
Yes.
About, for me, what I realize is that sometimes I'm in that space of, I'm done. I can't take it anymore,
Yes,
whatever
yes,
it is, the
yes.
finances, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I do kind of push out.
Yep.
But there is nothing to draw in the other direction. So I just sit there going, well, that's a bust.
Right. Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. So it's building the future. It's literally the version of you. And one of the things I say about goals, I think I'm jumping ahead of myself, but I will tell you this, is if you envision, here's what I always tell people, it would not be living in you if the fulfillment of it wasn't already available. In fact, we go another little more metaphysical level. It's already done. It's already happening. So imagine that there's a you that's already living this life, that's done it, doing the things, has all the benefits. It's art. So if you can imagine, now we don't see that realm yet, but imagine like, oh, it's not absurd. It's not the craziest, like with Eve earlier, there's a part of her that says it's absolutely possible to get this thing out. Of course. So if you envision that, like, okay, it's already done, I'm already doing it, then the reverse engineering is, okay, what do I have to think? What beliefs support me, which drives the identity, right? So instead of thinking like this will never work, oh, it's going to be so hard, if it's already done, you're like, this comes easily to me. The feelings of like, but of course I'm getting this, the feelings of gratitude that it's done, the feelings of fulfillment, whatever that is. And the identity is, maybe it's like, everything comes easily to me. I am able to achieve anything I set out. The universe completely supports me. My perfect clients, all the resources that I need are always given. So that will build them moving towards, if you envision, like literally use your imagination here. Listen to Neville Goddard. Neville's my guy, about literally using your imagination to create what you desire. Before bed, just vision it. It's already done. And I'll talk more about that. Does it make sense? That's a great catch for you. Okay, so I want you to think about now what gets in the way. So I gave you this is how it should go. And what gets in the way is your subconscious, your history, your epigenetic load, your experiences with trauma or difficulty in the past, right? I know that's really a thing. So what's your story? What's your story about why you haven't achieved your goals? And I'll tell you, I'll get real, because I like to be transparent and real as well. So a number of years ago, my children's dad died suddenly, and it just sent our whole family in crisis. You probably heard all this before. But for a very long time, my business was not a priority. I just was like, I got to tend to my kid. And that was reasonable. And I think last year, because I really like, well, I can't grow my business because like this, that was my story. And for a while that was valid. I literally had no energy. Danny was so sick. That was legit. And then Danny got sober and I was still stuck here. And I just said, Treese, are you using that? And I'm like, what? I had gotten stuck in that level of being. So my story was, well, I can't because I was so traumatized with Danny. And my nervous system by this point was more regulated. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm just habituated to an old story. I'm habituated to an old state of not very much resourcefulness. But I didn't know that until I'm like, what the hell? Why am I not marketing? What's going on? And I had to go, what's your story? So that's a question. And I'm not gonna share any of this, but when you get the story, it's not working because it can't work until it won't work because, the next question is, how does that serve you? So I'll just go mine. It would have served me with Danny if I launched something and didn't go how I wanted. I'd say, well, see, I can't launch it because, right? So how does that story serve? Because the stories are the subconscious parts very often that are trying to keep us safe. So let's say I'm just going to go back to I'm going to create a $10,000 a month business. But you have the story of like, yeah, but there's no women in your family that's ever done that. And you don't really know how to do any marketing. And, you've only ever created 5. I'm just making this up, right? How does that serve you? Well, it could say, well, see, you won't get rejected if you don't try. You won't believe you're kind of a loser or a failure if you don't make it. So in essence, there's a part in all of us that always thinks it's trying to help. It's trying to help. Dallas, do you want to share? You can share or not. It's up to you. It's totally up to you.
Okay. So wanting to move.
Yes.
Needing to move.
Yes.
I can't move because I don't have the steady income, i.e. clients,
right,
to support me to pay rent and everything else I need to do.
Right.
How does that serve me? Well, if I fail, I'll be homeless.
There's the protective part.
Yeah.
So next question is, do you want to shift it? So for Alice and everybody out there, do you want to shift this? Because, there's, if you've ever been around AA or the 12-step programs, there's a cliche that says you're as sick as your secrets. I say you're as stuck as your stories. I'll spin on it. You're as stuck as your stories. Because we believe our stories. We act as if the stories are truth and gospel, and we are powerless. And remember my top 3 values: joy, expansion, and sovereignty. So not on my watch are you going to keep these damn stories going. You are free to blow them up, because expansion means you have to dissect the stories and go, you don't have freaking power over me. Okay. So sometimes what happens is, so we set a goal and then our subconscious goes into protective mode and says like, oh, like her, I want to move, but, and it lists all the reasons why and all the scary things. And then it's like, oh, you'll be the homeless horse lady under the bridge. Never mind. As opposed to, this is all we have to do at this point. Set a goal, say, I'm going to be having that. And I don't have to know how. All I do is trust that my desire is to move, my desire is to create that 10,000, and I'm going to trust and know that the way will be shown. Because when your mind gets in, fucks it up. And then it goes, ugh, then it constricts you and it pulls you back. So Alice, my love, if you want to shift it, 2 things. What must you believe? And what's your new identity? Okay. So let's do the 10,000 one. What must I believe? If this were my goal, I believe that I have the skill and I have a heart to serve, and I will be guided to the people. So the belief is people will find me. If I want it, it has to be, right? So what do you have to believe? Because your story is making you to believe really shitty negative things about it. Your story is going to kill it. So creating a new belief is like anything that I desire is possible for me. The identity then, so the belief is one, and then the identity is I'm a person, again, listening to Neville Goddard, and just love Neville Goddard. It's just everything is always working out for me. And I aligned with the abundance of the universe. Those were two that I got from listening to Neville. So if I believe that everything is always working out, even if it's like, well, crap, a client just left, I could be like, oh, see, that was stupid. I was wrong. Or I could say, okay, everything's always working out. I don't understand this. But if I hold the vision, I'm a person that gets what I want. I'm the person that creates change. I'm a person people want to support. You see the difference? So there's the belief and then the identity. Deep stuff. So it's not just, okay, get a spreadsheet out, map out quarter one. This is all about the inner game pieces. Okay. So I've been talking a little bit about the subconscious, and I want to share Hertz work. Because there's a part of you, the conscious brain, that's like, I want this. And then there's the other part that's like, oh, like, and Alice just described that perfectly. I want to move. Oh, but what if, right? So that's pretty normal. That's like a conflicting intention. So your conscious mind desires, but then your subconscious is going to sneak out and say, yeah, but, right? So it's literally, there's two parts. And so, Alice, you want to do a demonstration? You don't have to. Okay. So this is a genius technique. So I want you, you're going to use your hands. And so in one hand is the part of you that desires moving. That one. Okay. And let's give it a name. So you guys are following the script here. Understand there's two parts and they're at odds, right? So it's like one's pulling this way, but most of it's pulling you off track. So this is a way to service, because if you don't fix this conflicting intention, and what we know is 5% is conscious, 95% lives in the subconscious. So basically you're sort of screwed unless you make the unconscious conscious. That's the work I do, right? Like I give you the awareness, so now you have choice and you can act. Okay, so Alice, name the part of you that wants to move. You can call it move. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be change, but move. Okay. Then the other part that's like doubting that, and put that part in what do we call that?
Doubt.
Perfect. Okay. So you've identified the two parts. And so we're going to talk about the part that wants to move. And so move is going to talk and say, this is why this matters. And so just kind of, and you can do it quietly, or you can do it for us, whatever. It depends how much you want to share online here. So just in your mind or to us, just why does that matter? And I want you guys following along, because we need to bring the energy up.
Why does it matter?
So it's like, I'm the part of Alice. I'm the part that wants to move. So literally embody the part, speak
okay.
out.
I'm the part of Alice that wants to move. Why do I want to move? Because it's time. Because the house that I'm living in is getting ready to be sold. Because all of that is coming to an end.
Not buying it. I hear that, but that's not really compelling, because then you could just get a new place with a roommate. It's not really, what's the why? What's really, and I've been coaching Alice, so I get permission to go in here, because we say like, that sounded so good. Everybody's like, oh my God. But I'm like, there's more, because that's not a moving towards, that's always coming to the end. See how that is?
Oh.
What's the burning desire about moving? What do you really, really, really want? It's not this house. It's not this roommate. Like, what you got to see. And this is where we get stuck, because we go, here's the goal. It's got hardly any energy, right? So we got to fan this. That's why we have it speak it out loud, so we can assess, like, are you freaking on fire with this thing? Does it have a life of its own? Can we feel it? Or is it like, oh, okay, we'll come in. I guess you've got to get another place. Like, it was like that flat. So go back if you can. Thank you for being a demonstration, because this is hard, right? It's scary shit.
Yeah,
People are
it
watching you,
is.
right?
Because I really love living in my own space.
Beautiful. And in my own space, I am.
In my own space, I am supported and free to really create in an unlimited way and live authentically. More than that, it's so much more comfortable.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You see how much more robust that was? Well, it's coming to an end, I guess. We got to get another place. But like, did you feel it in my own space? Even your words, even your voice. You feel that's embodied. Because when I'm me, everything's possible.
Yeah.
Here, it's constricted. So I love that you did this, because now, do you feel a difference?
Very much so.
Okay. Now the little part that's the worry or the doubt, when that part hears this part, what happens? The,
I'm not sure, honestly.
is it smaller? Is it
It
minimized?
is smaller.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah, it's a lot smaller. There's just not much there.
Boom. So if it were equal, if it was still, yeah, but there needs to be negotiation kind of.
Mhm.
So, but what happened, Alice, is that you blew that embodiment up so much. The other one was like, oh, no place for me. Sorry, I'm out. Right. Whereas if it's kind of like, well, if it's of your head, and then this kicks in and thinks it's got to protect and manage and organize, and oh God, and what if, and what if I don't get the client, or like when it's in what I call the 3D level, it'll get you. So I hope that was a good demonstration. I think it was a fabulous demonstration. We did it so well. We didn't have the second part. So the second part, let's say there's a let's say I'm just gonna role play. So somebody, my name is Sally, and I want to have an income of $10,000 because, oh gosh, I just really want to take my kids to Italy, and I want to help them and support them and just have a really fun life. And it just means so much to me. Decent goal. And this part could say, you've never really done that before. And like, what if you get overwhelmed? And what if, see, that's the doubt part, right? That's the conflicting intention. That's usually history, it's family experiences, it's past. And like, what if you get it, but then you lose it? And then what if, like, after Italy, you have no more money? And see, do you hear that? Do you hear the thread of what if, the fear based, the protection? That's how it always is with the subconscious pieces. So then I would say, I hear you. And I might say, what am I doing that you don't trust me? And they'd say, oh, well, you know what? You're actually really not doing enough marketing. And I see you like stop and start. And I'm like, okay, that's legit. All right. So what if I, for a month, every day did, a revenue generator? Okay. Then I could back off. Just see. So it's literally like navigating. You negotiate. So you make experiments like, okay, give me a month. Let me do what I say. And then will you trust me 50 more percent? Yes. Okay. So that's one way I work. And it's a super powerful way, because the parts are everything, but we don't know that they live in us, and we can be sovereign. So most of us go, oh my God, there's really scary voices in my head. Never mind, stupid idea. I'm just stuck. As opposed to be with the scary voice, like witness it, talk to it, discover it. So I know that just went. All right. So here's two more things. Neville Goddard, we all know what the law of attraction is, right? You have to be that which you attract. So if I say, I'm Jane and I want to create that $10,000 income, but then my corresponding thoughts are, but that's so hard. It never happens to people like us. Nobody, oh my God, I'll probably screw it up anyway. You are not literally vibrating. You all know this. I don't need to explain law of attraction. The one thing I love about Neville Goddard is the law of assumption. You assume that it's already done. So I was listening to some training about Neville Goddard, and he had it in I guess the 20s. He had a man he was working with. His name was Abhishek. He's a famous spiritual teacher from the beginning of the century. And Abhishek wanted to go home, which was, I think, Barbados, maybe Bahamas. I think it's Barbados. And so he said, I really want to go, but I don't have the money. And Neville says, I'm sorry, Abhishek said this to Neville. Neville was a student, Abhishek was a teacher. And Neville wanted to go home. And Abhishek said, what are you talking about? You've already been. And he's like, what? He said, you've already been. Tell me what it was like when you walked down the streets of Barbados and saw the coconut trees and felt the breeze and smelled the food. Tell me what that was like when it happened, because you've already been. And it's easy for the mind to go, yeah, but I don't have the money. And Abhishek was like, no, I'm not hearing that. You've already been. And so that's the law of assumption. So one of my clients is, she's stuck on one goal about marrying somebody, right? And I'm like, no, don't just focus on the getting the married part. I want you to focus on, it's a year later and you're celebrating your first anniversary. You've already been, right? Because we get focused on, it's very binary. I get it or I don't get it. But imagine the whole thing. Like if you were to have it, if you had the goal, speak as if it was done 6 months ago. Right? Oh my gosh, it was so cool. I got to go to Italy with my boys, and I flew first class. Finally got to fly them first class. Oh, it was so good. And that, then we went down to Florence and we saw da 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 da. That's the law of assumption. And so the goal with the embodied goals is you hold that even in the even in the absence of evidence. So let's say you didn't make $10,000 a month. Let's say you made $4,000, and you could be like, shit, it's never going to work. You're like, okay, I'm always supported. Who am I? Well, I'm a person that believes I'm always supported. I'm guided. I know what to do next because I will be having this. I will be having that. It's already done. So it's kind of locking into that end as opposed to what's the next task, right? It's kind of this dance of how do you move forward? You don't move forward because, your spreadsheet say you do X, Y, Z. You move forward because this is pulling forward. Okay. So that was a lot. I kind of like threw it all in at you. And so I do want to say, if anybody's interested in a couple ways to work, if you want to just let's have a chat, I can support you on this stuff. Obviously, if this is really foundational stuff, this is building you, because I'm not like a goal teacher. This is building you from the inside. And so if you're like, holy shit, I've got some blocks, or I want help me to walk forward into the next level, reach out. We'll have a call. We'll figure out where to put you, because I've got multiple ways of working together. So Alice, my love, how was this for you? You've been working with me for a little bit. You've heard a lot of this stuff before, but anything you want to say is before we wrap up?
Yeah, this is really helpful because I've been having these gaps, so I see the goal of moving. I mean, for the past months, I keep seeing myself where to put the furniture in the new house. And I came across rugs to put in the different rooms that I'm going to buy. And, all this stuff is coming forward.
Yeah.
And it just keeps happening automatically, naturally, just boom, boom, boom. Oh, the desk goes here, the table goes there, the beds go here, and, all of it. So now but I kept having this gap of the client picture. And all of a sudden now I'm having the client picture. I have 10 clients a week. I have 10 clients a week or more.
Yeah.
10 clients a week. And it just every week.
And that makes me so happy.
Yeah. So that filled the gap.
Boom. See, that's how fast
Thank
it
you.
is. That's really cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So friends that are watching, I'm seriously watched it. I hope you all are watching this, because a lot of people get replays and they're like, I think this was pretty good. I think this was really, what I know. I was psychotherapist for 20 years, and then I've been in the business coaching space for 20. So like, do the math. That's a lot of personal growth and business growth work. It's the inner game, because everybody teaches goal setting. So many people give you strategies, and there's a lot of people that say, oh, I can show you how to make 7 figures. And I'm like, and I can show you why you're not. Because we get these promises like, oh, use my formula. But if you don't have things embodied, if you don't know how to walk with the parts of you, or if you don't know how to like harness the mind and the doubts, you could have like the greatest formula in the world, and you won't, right? And then shame happens, right? Because you're like, oh, what is wrong with me? And so I just love bringing, here's the thing, goal setting, because I'm like, goal setting. But I hope I enlivened it today. I hope I gave you some really tangible, practical things where you can say, oh my God, like Alice, you saw her. We went from kind of a meh goal to like a hot goal. So use that. If it feels like, if somebody listens to you and they're like, oh, okay, well, you're moving because it's time to end, versus, oh, I felt that. Like, you should have that vibrancy to your goals. So, all right, with that, peace and blessings. Thanks for listening, watching, and reach out if you need some support. I would love to work with you. All right, bye now.